Hello, as everyone starts rolling in. Welcome to a live reading, TRL, Tarot Reading Live, as I've been calling it. And this week we're doing something a little bit different, but I'm going to give people a chance to kind of roll in to get acquainted to what's happening here. And as we await that, before I get into the card selections, I'm going to talk just a little bit about the week ahead and what's coming up, because there's a lot of stuff happening. First of all, we have a new moon happening this week. It's the Libra new moon, so fresh starts, particularly in regards to the things in your life that you want to feel more balanced about. It's really good. Libra energy is really good for relationships because Libras are a big fan of connecting and relating and matters of the heart. So it's a really good week to kind of get really clear on your intentions of how you want to balance out your relationships for yourself. And it's also a week that Mercury is going retrograde. So we have the need for balance in our relationships, but also the imbalance of communication that's going to be coming in. So this is the time at the beginning of the week to back up your data on your technology, to make sure that you've got all the loose ends tied up on, agreements, things that you might need to sign contracts for, because once Mercury goes retrograde, those things get a little harder to make sure that they're nice and clear. If you have any big conversations to have, I would say now is the time to have it. We are in Mercury's shadow period, so it can be a little, there can be still a little bit of a tendency for people to misunderstand what you're trying to say. But if you absolutely have to say something, I would say it before. I wish I had the date on this. I think it's the 13th that Mercury officially goes retrograde, but double check on that or check back and I'll confirm in my stories or correct it in the stories if it's not true. Another great thing to know about Mercury retrograde is there are some schools of thought that think that Mercury not only comes in and kind of messes things up, but also gives us the opportunity to receive gifts. So I have a beautiful practice that someone's told me about that I don't do very often myself, just because I don't really remember to do it. But there's sort of a superstition that if you give a list of things that you want to Mercury 72 hours before he goes retrograde, that by the end of that retrograde, so by the end of that 3-week period, your wishes will come true. So it's kind of like a nice little thing to make you look forward to Mercury retrograde as opposed to dread it. So if you're thinking of doing that, I think probably today would be the day to kind of make your list of wishes and wants. So if that interests you, at the very least, it'll get you clear on the things that you're manifesting for the new moon. And maybe as a bonus, you'll also get some gifts left behind by Mercury retrograde. So today we are doing the pickle card reading, which is a little bit different than how I normally have been doing this. But rather than doing this grand big reading for everyone and then ask everyone to ask their questions, I'm doing 3 separate pick a card readings. And what we're going to do is I presented the piles to you in the invite to this live on my feed, but don't worry if you didn't see them. I'll give you your crystal options in just a second to select from. But if you know your pile, know that they're coming in the order that I presented them to. And we're going to do the 3 oracle cards that were beneath the stones in your image that you selected from, but then also for each one of the readings we're going to do more cards as well. So I'm going to do an actual reading in addition to the cards that were actually presented in the photo. And just know that if you're on this reading and you're like, oh, I picked the last stone and I'm waiting forever to find out what it is that my reading is, if you're watching this live, I trust that you're going to get little bits of information from all the readings along the way as well. But then the one that you actually selected is going to be the one that'll have more resonance for you. So if you're listening in on the live and you didn't pick the cards that we're currently talking about, just kind of stay open and be like, there might be tiny little lessons here that I'm supposed to learn, but I don't need to take the whole thing to heart. And then when it comes to the cards that you actually selected, you can take ownership over that. If you're not watching this live, I plan on posting it on my Instagram TV, but I also plan on posting on my YouTube channel. So if you are watching this on YouTube later, I will put in the description below timestamps for when each of the readings begin. So if you want to skip ahead to the reading that you've selected, feel free to do so. Okay, so for our selections, if you did not join from the feed and you don't know what your options are, I'm going to show you 3 crystals. and you're gonna kind of select in your mind, or maybe even say on the screen, which one feels like it's for you today. They all have cards beneath them, but the cards aren't really what we're gonna draw your energy into. We're gonna see which crystal you are drawn to and trust that the cards underneath them are for you. So the first crystal is this sort of tiger's eye. I believe it's a tiger's eye. I'm not the best at crystal knowledge, but I'm pretty sure it's a tiger's eye. It's got these, like different patterns, stripe, little brown, little orangey energy. So if you're feeling that, kind of take that in. That's pile number 1. Pile number 2 is this little blue baby. And I always forget what this guy's called, but it's one of my favorites. A nice baby blue. Let me turn down my light, and maybe that'll give a little better. Yeah, there we go. So that's pile number 2. Pile number 3, orange calcite. So if you're into the big orange energy, feeling that today, you're pile number 3. So now that we have those selected in the mind, we're gonna dive in. So starting with pile number 1, and again, if you didn't pick pile number 1, I still trust that you've got some information coming through for you, so just know that that's on the way. We have 3 oracle cards coming in from our pile number 1. Again, pile number 1 is that tiger's eye, and these are all from the Fuzzy Prism Oracle. So, right away, pile number 1, you got love coming in your underneath energy. You've got the universe coming in the present. So there's a lot of stuff that the universe is trying to send your way, a lot of gifts that you're supposed to be receiving right now. And coming in the future spot, we have serenity. So this is a good grouping. I'm gonna tell you guys, these oracle cards aren't always 100% positive. So love, universe, and serenity. Pile number 1, you get to sit back and receive this week. This week is about just receiving the love around you. It's about the universe showing up for you, bringing you maybe those gifts that you're trying to manifest under the new moon, or the manifestations that you want by the end of Mercury retrograde. And it's just about letting that love and peace be your main objective, your main priority. And from there, we'll jump off into some cards. So for pile number 1, a little bit more advice for this Libra new moon. What have we got going on? I'm gonna go through these cards, guys, just laying them out so I can get sort of the lay of the land. Okay, so underneath the deck, we have the 4 of Wands. So again, if you pick pile number 1, this is your week to just like let yourself enjoy what you've manifested and what's coming in, because this pile number 1, tiger's eye, the left pile that was in the presentation on the feed, the 4 of Wands is about celebrating your accomplishments. It's a great card because it's kind of the card that I like to tell people. It's the reminder that like you don't have to be the end of the journey in order to celebrate, because it's the 4. So when there's 10 cards in a suit, your 10 is the end of the journey. So 4 isn't even like really even halfway. So you would think, oh, why would I celebrate now? But the 4 of Wands is really reminding you that like you may not even be halfway through your journey, but you've had so much worth celebrating. So this is really a card of just kind of sitting back, taking stock of what you've drawn into your life already, and really permeating in that energy of gratitude. And another reason that that's coming in is we are coming in with a little bit of 5 of Wands energy, which means that the things that you're trying to make happen as far as the future comes into play are not quite ready. There's still details that are ironing themselves out that you don't have to worry about. So this is just a week of like not really pushing projects forward, but just letting yourself celebrate what you've already accomplished, maybe even putting a little more love and effort towards the things that you've already put out in the world, and then just put a pause on trying to do something new and something different. Like if you're sitting around being like, oh my God, I just finished this project and I need to do something else. What can I do next? That's not the energy for this week. This week is just like, give yourself a breath, give yourself some fresh air, some gratitude, and some credit for what you've done. So like really let yourself do that. And then you're going to be moving into this Fool energy once things have kind of calmed down. I feel like this is going to be after Mercury retrograde. The Fool is just all about fresh starts, new beginnings, new horizons. But yeah, this is basically saying like, Mercury retrograde is your time to just be like, nope, don't need to force anything to happen. I'm not supposed to be pushing anything forward, which is kind of the theme of Mercury retrograde anyway. You don't need to be pushing things ahead and trying to make things happen. So yeah, just actually just relax, enjoy it. Like don't try to feel like you need to move ahead, and you will be moving into something new, something fresh, but it's not because you like did all kinds of work to force something to happen. It's very much the divine feminine energy that's coming in here. There's triumph after a hard time, lots of wands energy. So this 6 of wands, we've got the 4, the 5, and the 6 of wands. So we're kind of moving through the journey here. So like you're celebrating things, you're letting things come to fruition, you're letting yourself get clarity, and then you're kind of rising above all the muck or chaos that's been around you. So I feel like there might be some things coming in with your Mercury retrograde that the rest of the world kind of feels like they're in chaos. Like maybe the people in your home or the people that you work with or the people that you encounter are going to be really like a little like frazzled by this Mercury retrograde energy. And because you're going to be in this place of surrender and serenity and trusting the universe, you'll be able to cope with that much better. You'll just be like, oh, I'm sorry that things aren't working out for you. I'm having a good time over here, just kind of like relaxing and enjoying my efforts from months ago. And you can kind of let it roll off your back a little bit. And then we've got the 9 of Pentacles coming in too. So there's money, there's accomplishments, there's business. Business is still going to be working even if you're not trying to think of the next big thing. So again, we come back to this idea that the project that you've worked on for a while already, the things that you've already established, are going to be the things that are calling things to you. So again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to figure out how to do something different or make something new. Just kind of like let things kind of go on autopilot. And if you feel like you need to do something, look back at the things you've already been working on and just like put a little icing, a little frosting on it. Don't feel like you need to, don't bake a new cake. Just like put some sprinkles on the cupcakes that you've already baked. If you feel like you want to do something productive, that's what you're looking at. You're just putting some sprinkles, some sparkle, some frosting on what you've already baked, what you've already accomplished, and that's your only assignment for the next three to 4 weeks. We also have the 4 of Pentacles coming in, which is a card of letting yourself not get boxed in. So I think this is coming from a feeling of like, there's this feeling of contrast between like, oh, I accomplished these things and I still want to do something new, and I don't want to get trapped with this one thing. Like I don't want to get pigeonholed or typecast in this one thing. And the 4 of Pentacles is saying like, you don't necessarily need to have that fear. You can like let yourself have a little break, trust that you've accomplished something good, and then trust that you have an amazing intuitive energy that's gonna pull you forward at the right time. So when you feel like you're trying to like spin the wheels in your mind and like wonder what you're supposed to be doing next, that's not the time to take action. The time to take action is when you're just sitting around, you've given yourself a break, you've given yourself time to really embrace the things that you've accomplished, and all of a sudden something fun occurs to you. And it may not even sound like it has anything to do with your business or something that's going to move your life forward. It's just something that sounds fun. And that's when you move forward. And that's the Empress energy, where it's like, oh, my intuition just told me to do this because I wanted to put sprinkles on the cupcakes, or I wanted to do that. And then suddenly that's going to lead to the next thing and the next thing. And the next thing is just going to snowball. But it's all about letting go of the effort. Again, you've got love, you've got serenity, and the universe has your back right now. So just chill out, man. This is absolutely not a week to do anything, or the next, like I said, like 3 weeks. Mercury retrograde, it's not a time to push anything forward, not a time to force anything to happen, not a time to beat yourself up for not doing something. Just enjoy not doing something. Let it be. And then a little last note on the crystal that you selected. Tiger's Eye is a very protective stone. So there's sort of a sense of there's a protection around you right now and around your accomplishments, and you just have to kind of like let them be, and let yourself be, and yeah, don't let anyone else's ruffled energy ruffle your feathers, because you're just, that's not supposed to be your energy right now. I'm glad that you love how I explain everything. Okay, so if you picked pile number 2 with this little blue baby that doesn't show up when the light is on, we have your 3 oracle cards coming in from the Fuzzy Prism Oracle. Pile number 2, we've got, ooh, more good cards, guys. Again, there are negative cards in this deck, but we've got some good stuff coming in with this group. So if you pick that little blue baby crystal, your underneath energy is coming in with service. So there is definitely going to be an underlying energy of being of service, not just to the world around you, but to yourself in the next week. Yeah, this is basically like, it's kind of that, it's the energy of surrender as well. What's coming to mind right now is a prayer that's from A Course in Miracles. That's like, when you wake up every morning, ask yourself, you ask the universe, like, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? Because then it takes the planning out of your hands and puts it in whatever you encounter throughout your day. So it brings a radical sense of presence into your day. And if you can just come into the next week or the next several weeks asking yourself, how can I show up in this present moment and be of service? Whether it be to the people around you or to yourself, because sometimes that's the most important form of service. That's gonna be how you accomplish great things. Your present energy is pleasure. So again, we're coming back to, like, treat yourself right. Don't beat yourself up. This is an energy of just like embracing what feels good. And the more that you, what's coming through here is like, it's kind of a tantric energy. So like, if you study Tantra or know anything about Tantra, yes, it's a sexual practice, but it also is a embodiment of pleasure. It doesn't have to be about sex. You can eat tantrically. You can get, a nice bowl of strawberries, and you can savor each bite, and you can notice how the texture of the strawberry seeds feels on your tongue, and how explosive the juice feels in your mouth, and how the energy that you get from the sugar rush. So pleasure is not just about the things that are like the heightened states of pleasure. You can bring pleasure into every moment of your life. So again, both of these cards are kind of saying, be radically present. So if you're trying to be of service, you can't be of service by trying to plan and trying to plot out what it is you're gonna do, and you can't find pleasure by trying to plan and trying to plot it out. It's about being radically present in the moment and finding what's pleasurable in that very second. So right now, I encourage you, as you're watching this, what feels pleasurable to you right now? Like, if it is me, I'm like, I've got on this nice lightweight dress, and the fabric just feels so soft and nice on my skin, and it's so much cooler than what I had on right before I started filming this video. So that feels pleasurable. How can you find those little moments of pleasure and really relish in them? Then the future card is coming in with meditation, which just pulls both of these together, because if you're going to be radically present in the moment to find what you're of service for and to find what feels pleasurable, meditation is a really great tool to do that. So if you don't have a meditation practice, I highly, highly, highly recommend homemade apple pie. Yes. This is, just do your meditation. There's no excuses. If you are this blue baby, and quite frankly, this crystal energy is very connected to the cosmos. I think it's got like angels have messages for you or something like that is the meaning behind this crystal. So meditation is your key, especially for the next week, but definitely till the end of Mercury retrograde. So for the next 3 weeks, just make it your top priority. Even if it's just 5 minutes a day, but make something a daily practice. And I gotta tell you, one of my best things I've ever read about meditation, I think it's in Kate Hudson's book, Pretty Happy, or Pretty something, one of her books. She just talks about how she meditates every day, and she goes, and some days that's just sitting and staring at the wall. So think about that for a second. If you're like having a hesitance to a meditation practice, some days meditation really is just turning off the devices, and sitting and staring at the wall for 5 minutes, because that gives the space for that divine inspiration to come in and for you to be able to figure out how to be of service and how to find pleasure. And those two things are not like mutually exclusive. Who says that you can't be of service while you're finding pleasure? Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, so pulling a couple more cards for this group. Okay, so these blue babies, group number 2. The first card that comes out from underneath the deck is the Hermit card, which is the card that is for meditation and getting yourself out of the physical world and into the metaphysical, into your spirituality. So again, like, there's no excuses. You have to make meditation a priority for the next couple weeks. And if things aren't going well, ask yourself if you've been meditating enough. That's the solution to all your problems for the next week to 3 weeks is meditate. Meditate, meditate, meditate. I find that the most magical things happen when I'm meditating morning and evening. Maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 20 minutes, maybe it's an hour if it feels good. Meditate, guys. Like, yeah. Sometimes I try and give you other options, but I'm like, no, this is your only option. Your only option to find good things this week is to meditate. We have more Empress energy coming in, which is, again, the divine energy is just coming through, trying to tell you these important messages, but you have to sit down and be still to receive them. The other thing that's coming in that the meditation is going to help you out with is the 9 of Swords energy. So the 9 of Swords is just a sign that if there is any negative stuff that's coming through over Mercury retrograde, it's all you getting in your own head and getting all anxious about planning out the future and trying to figure out what to do. And meditation just clears that slate for you. Like, it's not your job. Again, coming back to the service card, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say and to whom? That's not about you planning things out or worrying about how the outcome's going to come about. It's about you being so present in the moment that you're able to receive the impulse to talk to that person that you wouldn't normally talk to go to that place that you wouldn't normally go. Sometimes you can sit in meditation, you'll be like, I don't know, but I just really want to go to the post office right now. Like, I really want to mail this letter. I really want to do something random, and that's taking you to the next action in your grand scheme of things. And it may not feel like it's earth-shattering, but it's something important. The other card that's coming in that, again, meditation is going to help you chill out about is the 5 of Pentacles. A little bit of stress about money. It's okay. We're all feeling it. That feeling of service. When you're feeling helpless, help someone. It's one of my favorite quotes, and I know that it's from Gabrielle Bernstein in my mind, but I think she got it from someone else. So when you're feeling helpless, help someone. So when you get too caught up in your mind about your own worries, when you get too caught up about your financial worries, how can you turn that energy outward? How can you help someone else? Because that's going to calm down those internal monkey mind things. Another thing that's coming in, a little bit of fear about moving out into the world, about this I love the image on this card, because it's this butterfly doesn't know it's a butterfly yet. It just thinks that it's in this, like death-like state, and that there's all this threatening energy around it. And ultimately, it's by trusting that strength to move forward that comes from within you that you end up becoming this beautiful butterfly. And again, that strength from within you is accessed through meditation. Another thing that's coming in, again, all of the cards that are just indicating that there's things going on in your mind that are causing problems, but they're only in your mind. The 9 of Swords and the 10 of Swords a little bit too are all about like the fears that you've built up in your head. And again, the great thing about just doing the meditation every day, you don't have to have the intention that you cleared all the negative stuff in your mind whenever you meditate. You just have to keep showing up to that meditation. And by showing up to that meditation, it's like anything. By showing up for your workout every day, by showing up and eating healthy every day, you don't immediately have the entire world shift around you, but little by little stuff starts to change. And all of a sudden 6 months later, you look back and you're like, oh my God, I'm a different person. I cope completely differently with the world now than I did then. And I didn't even notice the change, but it completely happened. It happened because I showed up every day. And that's what meditation is going to do. It's also going to bring you into this Father of Wands energy, which means that you have complete ownership over your spiritual path. And nobody can tell you what to do because you're at the top rank of things. So that is card number 2. I hope that you guys found some clarity there. I hope that those of you that didn't pick that crystal still found some clarity there. We all could use a little more meditation. So if you've been patiently waiting around for card number 3, again, card number 3 was this little orange calcite. It's a really great energy for your sacral chakra, so you might have found some resonance in that whole tantric find pleasure in everything comment. The oracle cards that are coming through for you. Oh, guys, we all kind of have the same message, it's just coming through slightly differently. Underneath, we have breathe. Just everybody take a moment right now. Just breathe in and breathe out. And relax your jaw. Everybody's got a little control issues going on. Just let that go. Okay, so breathe. And through breath, you'll find energy. You'll find not only physical energy because you're supplying your body with oxygen, but you will find that your energy comes into alignment through breath. So if you are not planning to meditate for the next 3 weeks, pay attention to your breathing, which is technically meditating. So I'm just going to trick you into meditating. But my card number 3, people, your breath is your meditation for the next week. And that's going to bring that energy that you need into the present. And it's going to be the ultimate form of self-care. I just realized that these cards are probably reading backwards for you guys because of this live, but I'm telling you what they say. So breath, energy, self-care. This is also a pile that is going to want to be mindful of the energy around you and letting go of other people's energy. I love that this energy card is kind of like surrounded in that little like wavy bubble. So for you guys, I think that again, we've got Mercury retrograde coming up. The outside world's going to be a little chaotic. Other people are going to be a little frazzled, like we talked about with group number 1. And this group in particular is going to be more sensitive to that. So really make sure that you're doing sort of cord cutting ideas. So like whatever that means to you, literally when it comes to other people's energy, whatever you think and picture in your mind will be true to the energy. So I always like to tell people, it's like, what does your imagination want to imagine disconnecting from other people? For me, I like to just imagine like this like glass cylinder dropping down over my body and completely cutting off anyone else's energy that's been influencing my energy. And sometimes you can be influenced by other people's energy and not even realize it. So anytime I end a day feeling tired or cranky, or I have a headache, or I have any sort of physical symptom that I can't explain, I will just imagine this cylinder coming down and just like chopping everybody's energy off from me. And that helps with the reset. Pause for a sip of tea, guys. So that happens, or if you know that there's a particular person that you're feeling an energetic connection to, you can imagine that cord to that person that's been kind of draining you, and you can get out a sword or a giant pair of scissors or whatever, and you can disconnect that cord. Also having practices to cleanse the energy off of you. I really like water. Bath showers are the best way for me to release the other energy from the day. I think it's because I'm a water sign. So if you're not a water sign, if water doesn't resonate for you, sage smoke is sometimes good for fire signs. Just breathing. Again, we come back to that air. Breathe in your own energy. Breathe out the energy of others. Earth signs, earthing, being on the earth or hugging a tree can be really good for resetting the energy. I'm a big fan of trees, guys. Sometimes just trees, in the spiritual world, trees are able to neutralize our energy. There's something called, actually in the Japanese culture, there's something called forest bathing. And it's where you go into nature, go into the trees, and it just sort of resets your whole system. And so that's another great way to kind of ground the energy and let go of anyone else's influence so that you can come back into your own energy. Okay, additional messages and cards for the Orange Calcite group. Whew. Okay, so orange calcite group, underneath everything, you got some big change coming. So the Eight of Wands is saying that there's some sort of like lightning strike moment that's coming in. I feel like it's probably closer to the end of Mercury retrograde, but there's some sort of moment of clarity, some opportunity that's going to be kind of dropped into your lap that's going to create movement and momentum. Again, like, don't worry about this as much unless it does. If it does drop in your lap during Mercury retrograde, just make sure you like read all the fine print and don't sign any contracts that you haven't read, and just really make sure you're communicating clearly, because some of us, that will be the opportunity. The opportunity will come at a slightly inconvenient time. It's not like the world goes on pause whenever Mercury goes retrograde. So like if an opportunity comes in and it's like, it's here, I got to follow through with this, just slow down with the details and make sure you're really being clear about what you want from the situation. But for those of you that have the blessing of waiting until the end of a Mercury retrograde, Mercury retrograde is going to bring you in the clarity that you need, so that when this opportunity drops into your lap and it's like, we got to go now, you're going to be like, cool, I know what I want, I know what I'm going for, I've let go of the things that aren't serving me, I've disconnected from other people's energy that's going to be influencing me, so that I know that I'm being true to myself. I've given myself so much self-care that I know that I'm ready for this opportunity and I can hit the ground running. So that's on the way. In the meantime, you might find that there's a little bit of a stalemate energy, a little bit of an energy of maybe trying to make a decision or a contract or an agreement happen and it's just not working. Like, people are butting heads and things aren't falling into place, and that's kind of the energy of Mercury retrograde in general. It's like, oh, I'm trying to get this thing moving and nothing's moving. Nobody understands what I'm trying to ask for, or the public transportation isn't working, or whatever. So that's what's coming your way, and that's why the breath, the self-care, and the awareness of your own energy is going to be so important, because there are going to be outside influences that don't have the same perspective as you, that don't necessarily agree, and you might have to compromise, but you don't want to compromise from a place of not knowing what you want and not knowing where your energy stands. So really just breathe back into your body before you make any sort of confrontation, any sort of agreement, any sort of, anything that you're doing that feels like you're kind of butting your head against someone else. Just breathe into it. Get real centered in your body before you do it. There might be some things that you are letting go of. This could be past relationships, this could be past jobs, it could be mental mindsets that you are cleansing from your system. And it's all about just giving yourself that time, that space, and again, knowing yourself. Like, these first 3 cards are really all you need to know, guys, this week for the orange calcite people. These first 3 cards, the breathe, the energy, the self-care, is going to give you the answer for everything else that you're encountering. These cards are just kind of giving you a little preview of what might be coming up, that there might be a little bit of conflicting energy, there might be something standing in your way of getting what you want, and that's just an opportunity for you to like really realize what you want, to let go of what you actually don't need. So again, I really get a feeling that there will be some compromise happening on your side as well, because you're gonna breathe into your body about something that you've been like, no, it must go this way, and then you'll be like, oh, actually I don't need that anymore. That's not something that feels resonant for me, and I wasn't gonna realize that until I settled into myself. But then there's triumph after a hard time. So it is gonna go the way that is the best for you. Whatever is unfolding during this Mercury retrograde, whatever kind of feels stalled or conflicting, if you can do the work of letting go of what you actually don't need, and being so centered in your self-care that you know that you're not compromising yourself in that you're actually just like recognizing what you're capable of and what you do need and what you don't need, that's gonna be when you come out the other side and you're like, oh, everything worked out the way that it was supposed to and the way that I actually wanted. I just didn't realize that that's how I wanted it 3 weeks ago. So right now you may not realize that what you want is what you want, and by the end of Mercury retrograde you'll be like, oh, that was what I wanted. Like, maybe it's you're like, oh, I really want my relationship to be with this person, and then in 3 weeks time you'll be like, that person who? Like, this beautiful person came into my life that I didn't even know existed, that I didn't know that I wanted, and now everything's sunshine and rainbows. Yeah, there isn't. I feel like there might be there might be a little more activity going on for you Orange Calcite people during Mercury retrograde, because the Sun of Swords does indicate that there is sort of like a diving into something, and it's going to happen fast. So like this card, the card that's underneath, and the Sun of Swords indicates that like the things that are coming are going to come at you fast. So you really want to make sure that you're grounded. I think the trees were a big hint for that one. Like the grounded in your own energy is going to be really vital, so that when things start happening fast, you can make decisions on a dime, and you know that you're doing it from your own center, your own heart. And if you don't know for sure that that's what's happening, step away for 5 minutes, breathe into your body, settle in, hug a tree, do what you need to do to disconnect from the other energies and feel grounded. What does it feel like to be grounded in your own energy? That's what you're working on, particularly this week. And then that's going to be what's serving you for the next 3 weeks as Mercury is retrograde. We have the Mother of Cups, which is the card of like the second most intuitive card in the deck. So we had the Empress in the other two readings. Mother of Cups is right underneath that. So we're coming in with this energy of like, you have a little voice inside of you that knows what you want and what you need. And by letting go of what the outside world has wanted for you, or by letting go of what your past self has wanted for you, you will really tap into that energy. And then when an opportunity comes your way and is like, oh, you gotta act fast, then you'll know how to handle that. That being said, you will have opportunities coming in that are like, here you go, gotta get this moving, gotta get this rolling. But there are also gonna be some things coming up for you during this Mercury retrograde that need to ripen on the vine. So the Six of Pentacles is a really great energy of the things that you've been trying to manifest are coming to fruition. They're ripening. They're almost ready to be picked. But your job is to figure out which of the fruit is ripe so that you can focus on that and let the others alone until they're ripe. Because sometimes we want so badly for this one area of our life to be ready to be picked that we forget about the other areas that are actually already ripening on the vine, and if we neglect them, they're gonna go bad. So if you are really zeroed in on focusing on your career, and there's something that just feels like it's not ready to go, it's not ready to move, say, okay, well, what area of my life is the fruit ripe? How can I focus my energy on that for a while this other thing works itself out? And then I think that's where this quick energy is gonna come in, is that as you get really good at figuring out which piece of fruit to pick, you are going to be able to act really quickly on things because you're focusing your energy in the right area. Whereas if you were to just zero in on your career that's not ready to be picked, again, everything else is gonna go bad on the vine, and also you're gonna be more tempted to pick it before it's ripe, and then it's not gonna be as good. Wait till the fruit is juicy, guys. Let yourself focus on the right areas of your life. And if something's not moving, that's a sign that the fruit is not ripe yet. Because things are gonna move real quick when they're ready. When they're ready to be picked, they're ready to be picked and savored. So that's your messages. This was really fun. So this is, again, a great opportunity for me to do every 2 weeks. I do these readings. I do them on this Instagram Live. I might keep doing these pick-a-cards. If you like this pick-a-card, first of all, several ways to support these. To support these live readings that happen every other week, close to the new and full moon, you can go to Venmo and give me whatever donation feels good to you to the same handle that is my Instagram handle, @MichelleShea. Or if you really like pick-a-card readings, I do not video pick-a-card, but I do visual and written pick-a-card readings for my Patreon members every single week. I'm actually probably gonna get off of here and take the picture for this week ahead, so if you're a Patreon member, know that those pick-a-cards are coming. And it's the same thing. It's pick your pile, and then I'll tell you what that pile is. And that's for as little as $3. So a membership to my Patreon that gets access to the pick-a-cards is only $3 a month. So for $3 a month, you get 4 pick a card readings throughout the month. You get access to the tarot scopes that I post for every zodiac sign, and occasionally I let you in on little things that are happening with the upper levels, because those also get some additional bonuses. So if you like knowing more about the goddess cards, rituals for the goddesses, audio messages for me about the energy of the moment, those are really good. I'm actually going to shuffle up my goddess cards right now and get us a little goddess just to close out this reading. So those are the ways to support. Or if money is not the way that you can support this, word of mouth is always a great way to support. You can share these opportunities for these readings, these live readings, in your stories. You can tell other people about what I'm doing on Instagram or Patreon, and that's always a really valuable and something that I'm really grateful for if you show your support in those ways as well. So a little goddess help for this week is Bridget, who is played by Julia Stiles in 10 Things I Hate About You. So this is a card of creativity, mostly poetry, because it goes really well with the 10 Things I Hate About You character, but it's also a card, it kind of goes along with that like pleasure, because Bridget is kind of like a hand in all the different pots. She has a lot to do with poetry and creativity, but then she's also a lot to do with like spring and things coming to fruition, the fruit being ready to harvest. So I would say that this goddess energy is coming in and kind of re-intensifying that energy of, you really want to savor the moment, savor your opportunities, savor the things that you've accomplished, savor the things that are coming in, savor your own energy, and savor the present moment. I hope this helped, guys. Thank you for joining. I'll hopefully be posting this later on my Instagram TV. Again, I'm posting it on YouTube, so if you enjoyed these things, let me know, and I will continue to do the pickle card for these live readings if it feels good to everyone. And I guess that's it. Have a really lovely new moon. Make that wish list for Mercury so that you know what you want to manifest by the end of these 3 weeks, and just stay really grounded in your own energy, and don't forget to meditate. Thank you all for being here.